Hey, Rich, how you doing, sir?
Hey, Paul, doing well. Thank you.
Great to hear from you, brother.
Hey, the market's tough and inventory's tight. You got any insights for me on how dealers can use market trends or any data to help us teach these people, some tricks of the trade to acquiring some cars?
Absolutely. This is timely. I just finished putting together some data points that I plan to be discussing, but I'll try them out on you first. Can you meet me at the gate?
I'm Rich Levine, and this is Meet Me at the Gate, where we're not just talking theory, we're tackling real world problems head on, driving solutions that supercharge productivity and team dynamics. Every episode is a journey towards improvement, empowering you, the manager, to lead with innovation and confidence. Join us to transform everyday roadblocks into highways for success.
So I don't have my presentation to show, but I can talk through some of the points, and answer questions and whatnot. And, especially talk about the gap that you and Will, that you guys with Will described last recording. So right now, I think that, the wholesalers, when they go to the auctions, they're going with the intention to be able to buy the car for the lowest price possible. And so that strategy used to work it used to when only one side had all of the information, right? When they had control of 100% of the data that was out there. Now they're no longer the sole proprietor of all of that data. They have to understand that during their acquisition strategies, that they're also going to be re-wholesaling that same inventory to another dealership or dealer for themselves. And they have to understand, what is that dealer looking at to be able to determine how much they can pay for a vehicle. And so we're finding that a lot of dealers are taking a look at, okay, how much more can I really pay for this inventory, especially in today's market? As you know, we're the shortage of high quality 0 to 3 year old inventory that when they start running through the lane, that's when the feeding frenzy hits. But no one knows where the ceiling is or where the floor should be. They're just going crazy. Well, what if you're able to, in an instant, be able to understand, here's what wholesale averages are, and they're realistic wholesale valuations. They're not weekly data points or monthly data points. We update our data every morning between 5:30 and 6:30 a.m. And they're VIN specific. They're not an aggregate valuation. So now you have, and it's a compilation from roughly 98% of all auctions in the nation. When we get their data, we get all this data that comes in. And as we're not an auction company ourselves, we're not owned by like Cox Automotive or a dealer track or CDK or Reynolds. We're completely ambiguous when it comes to delivering the data and the results back to you. It's really what the market is bearing on the wholesale side. But we also do the same thing instantly on the retail side as well. And it's pretty slick when you understand. It gives you an understanding that, I know this is the average I should bid or pay for the vehicle, but if I really need to win this vehicle because it's unique from my market and it does really well, how much more over and above can I go and still be safe? And I think that's the data point that's missing to close that gap. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. So it's independent data. But I want to take you back down memory lane to get to where you're at. So memory lane is me selling cars at an auction, let's say 1998, late 1900s. And I didn't know you at that time, Paul, but I knew your predecessors. And they'd walk through the lanes and they'd be there and they'd have this
Right.
little notebook, which they were taking a sampling of cars from each lane and they'd write down numbers. And then you'd run back to your office, and then a month later, we'd get this little book about the size of a smartphone now,
Right.
maybe a little smaller. Yeah, and we'd flip through it, right? And then we had that. We had a black book number, so we'd have one of those other ones. It was like the red book or the green book or whatever that other company is. And you mentioned Cox came along. I'm going to use NNS. We'll just add a letter. So instead, we're just going to say NNS. It's cryptic, so you get through it. But so help us walk through where we're at now and like closing this gap back from black book on paper to the wild, wild west. In the lanes, you get this data. It's updated every morning, let's say 5:30 a.m. So now I've got the best of the best.
Right. This is, believe it or not, we still have share screen. Perfect.
Whoa.
This is called Black
Whoa.
Book. It's our replacement for the book, right? Believe it or not, we've retained about 20% of our original book subscribers. So we still have about 20% of our original men and women who have the Black Book, and they won't give it up. They still want, right? They still want it in their hands. But we've replaced it with this app called Black Book Cherry. Now, bear in mind that the the data and the resources we're using is directly from the Black Book API. So if there are, like in your case, you're considering some development yourself, you could do something like this as well and make it available as cars are running through the lane or as a part of your run list. So your wholesalers, before they start bidding on the vehicles, they can match these vehicles up and know exactly what they want to bid for one. I mean, here's what I mean, how fast it is when you know what you're looking for. So I don't want to choose a complicated piece. I'm going to choose this 2018 Chevrolet Silverado 1500, high country crew cab, four-wheel drive, short wheelbase, right? Throw in a 17-digit VIN or scan it. Now the phone has a scanner piece. You can scan it. Throw in the miles, the region you're in. It automatically will select it, whether it has a 6.2 liter V8. See how it's lightly shaded out. That's a $1,400 ad that we automatically put on there. That if the wholesaler's bidding too quickly and not really paying attention, that's an easy miss. But that truck is worth $1,400 more because he's just thinking Chevrolet 1500. Nowhere in the call is it saying it's got a 6.2 liter V8. They have to do the investigative work to ensure it. Well, here we're telling you up front, it's part of the build date information we got. The second thing we're telling you is that it also has the power sunroof. Two unique features to the Chevrolet 1500 high country crew cab, four-wheel drive, short wheelbase. Now, just the trim level difference. There's about a $4,000 difference in trim level between a base Chevrolet 1500 and then adding a high country crew cab. We've already picked that up too, instantly. On the wholesale side of things, you get to see it extra clean, average, and rough. And we add one other piece, history adjusted valuation. What's really sobering about what's available in the inventory today, it's about 40 to 45% of all the VINs that I get to assess through a portfolio analysis for lenders and dealer groups. 40 to 45% of their current owned assets has a 10% or greater negative deduction because of improperly assigned history adjustment for the condition of that title and the lifetime impacting events that have altered the true resale, wholesale and resale retail valuation of the vehicle. So think in terms of, you ever bought a flood title vehicle, salvage title, theft return, commercial use vehicle, Uber, Lyft, or Turo, multiple users. There are like 14 states that do state inspections, and they post that as a part of the lifetime impacting events on vehicles. And is it missing any inspection records? That's a ding, and so on. So the average is 10%. So if the average retail value of a dealer owned car on the lot is roughly 30 some thousand, but they own it for like 27, that's a $2,700 deduction that they are missing, or they should have paid less than what they did pay for, right? And 25% of the inventory, there's a positive value add of 3 to 5%. So on a $30,000 vehicle, that's $1,500 more money that I can justify paying for a good piece that has a great lifetime on it, right? Does that make sense, guys?
I like it when we go back and you were showing us that little table where you'd automatically select the engine or the hole in the roof, the sun,
Yep.
power roof. When you had that little table, you threw me in the way back time machine because I was imagining holding my little black book going from page 46 all the way clear to the back of the book. Like, where's that table? I got to find it. What am I adding for that? By that time, the auctioneers covered what? 3, 4, 5 bids, and now you're out of luck.
Yeah, and you've missed it because they're going so fast. When I was listening to I haven't been in the lane in a long time, and my ear was not trained. I had to pay attention, really pay attention to see what the bids were going for, what the final bid was. And you're right. I remember how if you weren't ready to see, what the ads and the mileage deducts were, and you're flipping back and forth, you're missing that opportunity. So as you can see right here, this truck has $2,000 in options, has an $1,800. If I classify it as an average truck, has an $1,800 ad in mileage. In Texas, because I'm appraising it in Texas, there's no value add. It may have a $200 adjustment positive if it was going to, let's say, Kansas. So there's a region adjustment. This number 31.8 average to clean of 35.4 is what the usual wholesalers are used to looking at now, and buyers are used to looking at now. They would look at these two ranges. What we give now is this history adjustment. So now we're saying somewhere between 31.5 and 35,000 is what the bidding should be. But is the car worth really more? Is it worth more? How much more is there? This is simple. Before I make my final bid, click on retail market, and you can immediately create a program that showcases if I'm in my local market, I'm saying 50 miles of my zip code, right? So I'm buying this vehicle from Texas and I want to put it in my lot, and I'm 29388. I'm in 50 miles is where all my competition is. I am only looking for the exact same truck I'm looking at now. 1500 high country crew cab, 4-wheel drive, short wheelbase, 6.2 liter V8 with the sunroof, right? Not anything else. And I can see that if I do buy this vehicle, if I split the difference between 31 and 35, let's say 33, I've got a 45-day turn on average based on my market, but there's only 10-day supply in my market. So I have a good opportunity. And the average price point is $30,995. Now, that might throw some people off on the retail side when you first see it, but you have to realize the average mileage was 93,000. The one I'm bidding on is 67,000 miles. And the one I'm competing against is right here at 30,995 at 93,000. And that's at Lakeland Carts. So I can easily click on the VDP link and it takes me right to, did you see me switch to the VDP?
This is crazy.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Right. Well, so think about this. When you buy a home, the real value of that home is assessed based on comparables, right? So now you have the ability to offer your wholesalers and your buyers and your bidders in the lane. You could create a program to give them these kind of comps. Now, this is what's just for retail in my local market, right? Now, some dealers will take this inventory and say they think their market's 300-mile radius. They'll sell to anybody out 300 miles. So I went 300 miles and see what happened to my metrics, $44 per ton, right? So it's taken me 1 day longer. My day supply went from 10 days to 17 days. My average price point, I picked up $3,600, but my average miles is still 93,000. I'm winning, right? I'm already winning because my truck has 67,000 that I want to buy, that I'm bidding for. So I can source through this detail list and oh, here's one for 67,000. This guy's selling it for 39,485. You can even put a sort functionality right here. Click sort. You only want to see vehicles that are in that bucket range. You don't want to price and benchmark your vehicle, when you wholesale it and when you're buying it wholesale and when you plan to, what your acquisition strategy is for retail, it needs to be benchmarked for real comps. So I only want to see vehicles in the 60,000 mile bucket. So here's one for 67, 39.4. Here's another one, 65, 34.4. Here's another one, 72,000, close enough, 33.5. So now you get to understand that, okay, here's someone 100,000 miles, 104,000, 125, that's diluting my value because of the excessive miles. I can actually pay closer to 33, 34, and based on the numbers, I might be safe. If I'm that guy that wants to go 300 miles. But here's what usually happens. See what it says all trims right here? Now let's take a look at the entire inventory supply. We go back to 50 days, 50 miles, I mean, of all Chevrolet Silverado 1500s. So we further dilute when we're looking at either a paper guide, and even if we miss the trim features and the optional ads for that trim. So if those three things are being missed, then we're averaging out against an aggregate pool of inventory. So yes, my days to turn dropped. I went down to 26 days. My day supply dropped 2 days. My average price is $30,009, but I'm not competing comparably truck to truck. I'm looking at an LTZ Z71. I'm looking at an LT double cab 4-wheel drive. Trim level differences just between those two is $2,500 to $3,000. So why would I want to benchmark my pricing strategy against that? But unfortunately, that's how most buyers are doing that. So you can reduce the gap and improve the confidence level of your buyers with a strategy to show them, here's your wholesale purchase plan, but you instantly can share with them, here's an acquisition strategy you can consider based on real market analytics. This data this is Retail Market Insights. We update this every day as well. And we keep sold data. We go back 6 months on sold data. So now I can actually get a real market analysis on what the vehicles have done in the last 6 months. Now, in this market, I don't think that's a good strategy because of how crazy the market has been, especially in trucks. You know, in the last 6 months, these are the last 3 vehicles, almost 40 grand, what they sold for.
So describe crazy. So you said that the market's been crazy, especially on trucks. So from your interpretation of Black Book, what does crazy mean? I know what it means for me at the auction.
So I think, you know, there's a lot of hopium in the dealers have a lot of hopium about their inventory, right? They, as you can see, is it sold? Let's go back to the retail. All right. So there's only one truck in inventory right now, and it's only had one price change. And this guy with 93,000 miles, he's been quite realistic with his pricing strategy. I'm actually surprised this truck still is in stock 24 days. But again, it's a $31,000 truck with 93,000 miles. The consumer sentiment has kind of shifted drastically in the last 6 months. They're realizing the cost of living is much greater than what they're hearing from the media. They're being told the economy is great, the jobs are great, and all this, but they're not feeling it. They're not seeing it in their day-to-day cost of living activity. And so that's starting to cut into their what they thought they had was extra money, free expense money after all the bills are paid. They don't have it now, right? So the challenge they're having is that the cost of the way they live today, the average consumer, is almost 55% more than when it was than what it used to be for pre-pandemic. Just the cost of food is 40% higher than what it was. Yeah. I mean, when's the last time I went to the grocery store and remember buying eggs, milk, and whatnot, and having to pay $40 for just one of those small hand baskets that you carry. Right. So now what's also happening is the day supply of new. We also have new data in here. I'm only showing you used, but there's new data available in here that you could see what's the average day supply for like new vehicles in inventory. And then then if you understand what the incentives are, that trickle down, that waterfall effect, you put it like on the Dodge trucks right now, you put a $10,000 incentive on a truck, that trickles down across to every used Dodge like truck as well. And that's happened here in the last 6 months. Think about the Tesla, what's happened with Teslas.
Yeah. Well, so real quick, on your days to turn, is that right? Yeah, days to turn, that 45. So that means this vehicle is going to be gone in 45 days. Is that right?
45 days or less.
Okay. So as far as when I see stuff like days to turn and days supply, I think of Jason Rice, Lot Pop.
That's correct.
And those are some things that he's really big on. Is that right?
Yes, he is.
I think, go ahead.
What basically this says is a very, very low supply. You have the only one.
Yeah. So he would be pro, get that baby. But back to Black Book and this, I mean, like if I'm a used car dealer, why would I not? I mean, who else has this? I've never seen it, but does anybody else have this kind of stuff? This is crazy.
So there's a lot of data partners that we have that's utilizing it and it's ingested into their program, but there's not a lot of training from the data partner, the SaaS partner, I should say, being supplied to the dealerships ongoing. So as management leaves, management comes in, the assumption is they know how to read this data and where to find it when they're looking at the tools they have at the dealership. On the wholesale side of the things, I've got two independent, smaller wholesalers. I have a three-store group in the Mid-Atlantic who's actually creating something like this because they do everything online. They run the
right. So
everyone's sitting at their computers.
Is this available on your phone app?
It's a phone app, yes.
And desktop. Wow.
Right.
So go ahead, Rich.
We need to make a shift here. We're going to call it NNS, just subtract one letter off of that. And then we've been going out to market for years, and they've been giving away their data. And it's like, this is the best. They did a great job of selling it. We've got more information. If we go back to that last podcast that you said you watched that we did with Will Morris the other day, before I hang a number on that car, you've got to have a process. And this is going to give you some of that information. But now you've got better information to get closer to hanging a real number on the car. You can look at some of the other information. I've been to the competitions. Right. We've all been using their data. Now I'm not going to lie. I want to switch. You're getting me. But it doesn't have to be like this. It doesn't tell you. I mean, you've got days on here. You've got all this information. It's like you need to buy and let's flip the script. If you're a seller and you're seeing this stuff and you're seeing what we're getting all the money in the lane, you see the day supplies, cut that baby loose. Let's go. What is it? What is it tied to? There's shooters and there's welders. Your information can weld people to the car so they can help them buy, and it can also shoot the cars so the sellers can shoot and let it go. We got to have welders and we got to have shooters.
I like that. That's a good point. There's another strategy that you could that some are using is they're looking at, okay, if it takes me 45 days to turn this vehicle, so if I buy it based on the metrics, I can anticipate my disposition strategy needs to be within 30 to 40, on the 30th to the 45th day, somewhere in that time frame, right? And I should also, based on the sold data, I'd be able to, it doesn't, no, sorry, I gotta click on the actual image. On the sold data, like here's one, had 23 price changes. I bet you that's the demo, right? 123 days in inventory, 23 price changes, right? And that's within a 50-mile radius. The other two, 39.9 and 37.9, sold with 8 days and 5 days respectively. Didn't have any price changes. So if based on that, the likelihood that I could also retail this truck if I bring it home within that 30th day to 45 day window is very high based on the stats that are here right now. But I also need to be considerate of what incentives might be hitting into the market. And that's where some of that real world experience also adds into this.
Is my team going to win, or are they going to get their butts kicked? When I look at your app and look at this data, I start seeing days, all right? If I buy this car, what is my win probability? How likely am I to sell this car in the next 45 days? And then you look at your days, you're right there. You got 8 5s, like, whoa. And then what do we do? Help us with this one. You're only listening, you can't see the screen. But if you're watching this on YouTube or on Spotify, take a look at the screen. What does this 1, 2, 3 car mean? 123 days, 36,000 miles, 23 price changes. That would scare me if I wasn't used to your data. I'm scared.
Yeah. But that also is the likelihood that is a dealer demo or GM's demo is very high.
We throw that one out, right? Because it's an anomaly. It's way out. Usually of there. We got the other two. So you sold one in 8 days and you sold the other one in 5 days. So let's buy this. Let me pay some money. Let's get this thing up here and let's sell.
That's right. And so when you understand the market, the overall retail market supply, what's in the industry as a whole, it's kind of scary what's out. We're about 20. Was it 20? I think it was 27% fewer listed vehicles today than we had pre-pandemic. It's something like that. I'll make sure I get you the real number, but I think it's 27% overall. So right now we already have fewer vehicles nationally listed for retail. We also have a smaller bucket of inventory that is affordable, especially in the 0 to 3 year old price range. Do you guys get to see a lot of that at the lane? Do you get to see when you get a 0 to 3 year old vehicle that's popular? It's a feeding frenzy for that car.
Yeah, those cargo vans. Did you see that? Under 100 miles, those suckers, every one of them gone.
And were they for transport or Amazon drivers buying for Amazon or for FedEx use?
Well, there's a couple of things going on, a couple of market dynamics. One, our auction is set up to handle that kind of equipment. We've got buyers for that. But let's take an example. Last fall, when I first took over this auction, there was a seller that had about 36 Dodge Rams, all current year models, all with teenage miles or less. But the problem is they were all 6-cylinders. They were leathered up, no hole in the roof. Nobody wanted them. So it all depends on the merchandise. So these vans were perfect. They were brand new delivery or whatever type vans. We got a market for that. I've got a market for white pickups. We don't have a market for white pickups with leather and a hole in the roof because it's too nice for the fleet to put your electrician in or for your fleet driver. And it's not nice enough to give to your rancher or to sell off your lot. So here we're stuck with, I guess we're stuck. I guess the market data on what would be missing is interesting because I would love to do that be able to go back to the seller and say, hey, this isn't really working. I got a 6-cylinder Dodge Ram Longhorn here, all leathered up, no hole in the roof, and it's a 6-cylinder. Let me tell you what, days to sell on this retail lot is like 722 days because Ram's not doing very well right now. And I just got you $46,000 on this. I know what book says 60,000, but this 46,000 is all the money. But I don't have that information. But with your data, I could have that and I could have a conversation and I could get the current data, and it's better than what I would be getting right now. I don't have the data to back up what we've got going right now. So I'm just saying, hey, I want this to be true versus what you're giving me and have some substance to back up to help me sell and work these offers. So that's where I see this. This is a gold mine.
When you have parity of knowledge between a buyer and a seller, the equity should be greater and the ask should be more between the two. I can no longer hide how much I'm holding back from you, and you can no longer hide what's going to take for you to retail it, right? I've got the same data, you got the same data. So let's find a happy medium. Here's another example of what I was talking about on the retail. And the one that we've just released today, this is last 2 weeks ago. To give you an idea of how fast the markets are trending for us. Can you see there you go. All right, so the black is current year, right? 2024, right? The purple is 2021. Obviously, you can see how limited, when prices went crazy, look how low our inventory was. 2020 is when we started seeing the pricing, and this is listing available vehicles listed in the country on a week-by-week basis. The green is 2022, and the light gray that you see right, barely can tell because it's the same right here, that's last year, right? So we're just above the baseline on the listings. And so you can see we started the year off, and we came back to the baseline. So we were our levels of retail inventory was very, very low. But on the week of the 5th, we jumped right back up. Where are we today? As of today, that little line is a little bit less. Let me get that a little bit. There we go. All right. So move this out of the way. Give you the reason why I had to go here is I want to be able to move this out of the way for you. So this is the active retail listings, and this is as of just a few weeks ago, right? And the price points, 0 to 2 year old inventory is the light blue. So the 0 to 2 year old inventory is right now we're right about 29% of overall listings. 3 to 4 year old inventory, you could see is comprising between 30 and 66%.
That tells me the gap is shrinking too, that there's 3 or 4
Right.
year old stuff's getting smaller. There's less of
it. And you see that 5 to 8 year old and older than 8 on the top. Right. It's growing because the affordability. Now, the next one, this is a retail price distribution broken out from last time I updated was February 5th this year, and it's from January 2019. So the under 10,000 categories on the bottom. So you could see there was a larger population, and hitting into late 2021, starting right about November 2021, through the rest of up till now, that population is getting smaller and smaller because of that demand for that price point of a vehicle. You have the $10,000 to $15,000, which is right here, and then mustard yellow. You can see that that's also a very small percentage. And then the magic number is the 15 to 20,000. That's the gray. So the bottom three comprise right now about 35% of all listings. And then the top two, 20 to 30,000 and over 30,000.
So that tells me that 2/3 of the inventory out there in the used car market is expensive and only 1/3 of it's affordable. So if I've got an affordable car in the lane and we've got 3 or 4 guys bidding on it, and you're on the block and you're not selling it, you're probably making a big mistake.
Oh, absolutely. So I've noticed, so Ty has heard me say this many, many times. The number one strategy a dealer needs to do, besides sourcing vehicles from auctions and lanes, also creating a 100% service appraisal write-up offer. So if you figure that one of my clients, he's doing this now. His target is only 10% acquisition of his write-ups. He's averaging about 2,000 service ROs a month. So if he's targeting 10% acquisition, he's acquiring about 200 units directly from his service department. And he is putting all the money in these units because he doesn't have to pay the shipping and transportation. He knows how that vehicle's been well cared for and maintained because it's in the lane. Because he can't.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So this buying in the lane, service drive, that's what we're talking about, correct?
Yes, sir.
So if I'm a dealer and I have subscribed to your black book and I give it to my service guys and I show them how to use it, when a car comes in, they can put a number on a car? Is that what I'm hearing?
It's a completely separate process. So depending on how the dealership operates, one of the best processes that there's a partnership. It's a separate department, all right? It's another buying department that places the number on the vehicle. The customer comes in, they get the service work done while the vehicle's being serviced. The buyer is inspecting the vehicle, appraising the vehicle, and puts the check writing number together. after the customer pays their service RO, that's when the check offer is made. So now you've still collected your service money, but you're also making a check offer. So if you can acquire about 10%, that's a pretty attractive.
That's huge.
Yeah, right. And here's the key. You may not keep, he may buy 200 vehicles at 10%, but maybe 100 of those really will only fit what he can do for his inventory, for his market demographics. Where does the other 100 have to go to?
I know.
Right? now you create that relationship. You help them with their, if you're creating the service appraisal partnership with a dealer who wants to do this, you can say, look, I'm the place for you to dispose of the inventory you don't want to keep. What's your kick rate, right? You may acquire 200 vehicles. Let me get your kicks.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Right. And it becomes this is interesting conversation because I hear you on Fridays and I hear people that are way smarter than me talking about wholesale. When do you get rid of your old inventory? What do you do with all these cars that you just bought out of the lane that you don't want? And how important is that? And you just said it, and I hadn't heard it. Maybe I haven't. I wasn't paying attention, but that's a whole nother department. So you've got anywhere between 1 and 5 guys. Their job is to stand there in the service department and wait till somebody pays their bill. Is that what I heard?
That's right. And if you do it right, and you've trained your service advisors to work in partnership with that department, you give that service advisor a spiff for actually helping acquire that inventory. Pay him a flat $150, $200. That's a huge bonus at the end of every month for a service advisor. So there's a in the game to help build the value behind it. And then what gets me excited is that if they don't keep, let's say 30%, they don't keep, they got to kick it. It's going to the auction. And as you can see right now, inventory price distribution, there's not enough of that inventory for retail. So someone in the industry is going to buy that kicked vehicle, spend the money recon, and it'll end up being in the listing status.
And I think that's when we shift over to building your own lane, building your own brand at the auction, being consistent, being accurate, and being transparent. Rich came up with that, CAT. You get your guys to work on that, and next thing you know, you're building your own lane, and everybody wants to come and buy your cars, especially if you got a title.
So that does bring up an interesting question. I don't know if this is ever possible, Paul, but when you collect your data, do you know whether or not the car that was sold at an auction with the title present or without the title present? Because I would love to see the discrepancy in values between I have a title when I buy this car or no, there's not a title present. I'm going to have to wait for the dealer to bring me that damn title.
That's a good question. I'll have to ask my data team if we do get that and if we are inputting it.
Because, I'm just going to throw it out there. It's a wild and crazy idea. It's a book deducting from when I talk to people because they walk in, they're like, okay, blue light's on. There's no title here. It says, let's use this example you had. And what was it? 32, 33, 34,000. That's a lot of money to pay for a truck. But if there's not a title here, I'm not going to give you that much money because I might have to wait 45 days on my turn time. I can't retail that till I have a title. How long am I going to have to hang on to it? Oh, wait a minute. The time to get the title turned at the auction is at 30 days now, and I'm down to 15 days. I'm gonna have to go cut that so I can't get stuck with a car too long. So I'm not going to pay you top dollar because I don't know if I have a title.
That's a great feedback.
Paul, since you came on this podcast, I'm just going to slide that little tidbit in there as a free. Now, what I really want to say, my biggest goal personally is I want to help other people become better at whatever they do. So are you selling cars? Are you crunching data? Are you moving cars? Are you hauling cars? Whatever it is, whatever you're doing, I just want to help you get better. And I'm going to tell you right now, for the last 38 minutes, 36 minutes that we've been going on here, I've been watching you go through this data stuff, and I've been engrossed and I've been geeked out because I love it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, so we're going to have, I was raised in the business by the Hendrick Auto Group in the late 80s and most of the 90s. And my mentor in the car business, he taught me, he said, one of the key tricks to making sure that you understand what's happening in your marketplace is follow the retail industry, the real estate industry. What happens in housing eventually trickles into the automotive vertical 6 to 9 months later. And so right now we're getting ready to see a flood of affordable housing hit the market just in time for the spring selling. But why? Why are we getting ready to see that flood? And so there's data out there now, and this is what's going to be I'm putting into my blog next week. from the New York Fed to Realtor.com, highlighting what I just shared of the cost of living, where these affordable houses that these people jumped into and in 2020, 21, 22, and 23, with the way the cost of living is, they can't afford it. But someone can. So they're putting these vehicles on the market, hoping to get some equity. But that flood of that type of inventory, instead of going into pre-foreclosure or short sale or foreclosure, they're trying to sell it, and they're selling it at a drastically reduced price. I'm watching pricing in my market. I'm an investor. I buy and sell houses. So I've seen some houses that I've been watching, $50,000 drop, $100,000 drop just in the last few months. So what does that mean for the autos? People want to keep their loans, but they're also struggling. This doesn't look too pretty because I collect them. I collect my information while I'm working, and then I put my thoughts together. So let me just give you an idea of what's going to transition the industry to really get aggressive, to start buying more inventory. And will that inventory show up? Will it be available for us? And I think we're going to have a robust spring selling season because of what you're going to see here. Just show this window. So this is from the New York Fed. So this is transitions into serious delinquencies, 90 plus days by loan type. So we got third quarter Q1 to first quarter 2023. As you can see that the student loan debt was up here. What happened? What was the conversations we heard? What did the government do that all of a sudden this 90 plus day nightmare just almost went down to zero? What did we do? Started forgiving loans, right? So it means we paid for it. We paid for it, right? Our tax dollars paid for it. The government didn't pay it. We did. So the credit card industry right now is at an all-time high, over $1.3 trillion in credit card debt. If you read the Q&A behind this report, it's like 46 pages long. Consumers are using their credit card balances to live today. They're using the credit card balance to buy groceries, to make a car payment, to make up the difference on their rent payment or their mortgage payment. They're not using a credit card like they used to use it for, just frivolous things. You want to go out to eat dinner, buy some new clothes, go on a vacation. Now they're using it for daily need, the credit card. And that spike in the 90-day plus day late payment. The mortgage, you can see, is holding steady. Now, what most people don't realize, the mortgage moratoriums just expired in November. Most of them just expired this past November. And the government is putting in place a payment plus act, where if certain mortgage owners qualify to get a quote unquote a relief of how much money you are back on your mortgage, you can qualify like a tax savings and get it and get caught up on your mortgage payment. And lenders are still using the guidelines that was given to them for the moratoriums to still restructure loans, doing everything they can to kick the can down the road to avoid it. But it's coming to a head, right? That's why you see the delinquencies 90-day is starting to increase. And then the auto loan, the green, we're at an all-time high right now. Haven't been this high since the 2008 crash.
Good news is they're not as high as the credit card or the mortgage was back then. But the bad news is it's just as high as it was.
That's correct. So however, the pricing of the right now our asset-backed securities is roughly 1.3, either 1.2 or 1.3 trillion in auto loans. When the crash happened in 2008, that was on 1.3 trillion in mortgage debt. So give you an idea of how much significantly higher just on the auto loan debt we are versus what it was that caused the economy to collapse in 2008. We just have that right now in auto loans. So there's a lot of stress in the market, right? A lot of stress in the market. And I'm going to be and it's based on why the consumers are feeling where they're feeling. So here we go. This is from Bloomberg, right? Indoor plants, if I want to buy one, up 21%. If I have natural gas to heat my home, it's up 29%. Car insurance went up 33%. If you live in South Florida, it's even higher than that. Major appliances are up 12%. Used car prices are still at all-time highs at 35%. Groceries are 25%. Pets are 17%. Restaurant food is 24%. Water and sewage is 16%. And rent up 20%. This is from Bloomberg, and this was put out, here it is, November the 27th of 2023. On the 5th of this month, I reported that the food increased to 40%. And here, in November, they said it was 25%. So, right, just in a few short months, just in a few. So this is building, this gives you an understanding of why I think we're going to see a really nice surge. Another person's pain is another person's gain in some way, somehow, right? Cars are going to be repossessed. That means we're going to see some more volume in the lanes. You're going to receive the benefit of it. The wholesalers who are buying it are going to receive the benefit of it. And the next buyer, the next consumer will also receive the benefit of it. It's just a vicious cycle. We're getting ready to repeat that cycle. And it's been a few years since we've had a really good swelling of available inventory to buy in the lanes, in the auctions. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, it makes too good a sense, but it adds a lot of clarity to what's going on, and you drop some absolute dynamite gems in there. It's pretty powerful stuff, Paul.
Thank you, sir.
Good job, Paul.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, so I'll have this out Monday.
Yeah. I love your weekly reports. They're so amazing. I'm always blown away, dude. And you pack it all in there in under 20 minutes. That's what's even more amazing.
15. I have to get under 15.
Right. So where do we find these weekly reports at?
So it's on LinkedIn under my name, but the link I sent you this morning, you can go to blackbook.com/insights. So that's the second portion of my weekly vlog I put out. That's the Black Book Insights. The first portion, which is what I just finished running through, is my Rising Tide insights. You know, I have it's an old saying, but I firmly believe it. A rising tide raises all ships. And I'm trying to give all this information, trying to share this knowledge because I want to help the dealer community. I'm an advocate for the dealer community. If I can keep
the dealer,
if I can keep one from not becoming a statistic, saying they lost their franchise or had to close their doors because they just didn't do the right things. If I can keep them if I can get them to do the right things and save them, I win, you win, we all win.
What I'm thinking, Rich, I'm thinking about the round table we had at the rodeo event and pile a room full of used car dealers, and we bring Paul in and we say, sit down and hang on.
That's exactly what I'm thinking. And we did a happy hour afterwards and we gave everybody drinks. I think that's what we need to do is we need to pull everybody in, offer everybody a drink, and then Paul's going to go, hold my beer, and then he's going to unload all this knowledge on them. And everybody's going to like it. It'll be way too much fun, but it'll also be very educational. So Paul, we'd love to have you come down and visit us. The auction and help our dealers. That's what this is all about. And that's what Ty and I are both about. We're here to help other people.
Yeah, well, maybe I'll talk to Jared and team at Blackbook, see if they'll let either Jordan or I to be able to do that. Would love to be able to do that.
We'd love to have you, Paul. We've got another event coming up this summer, and it's going to be a little hot here in Houston, but we've got AC. We're also going to do another one in the fall, and of course next spring we're bringing back the rodeo event sale. We had a great time last week, Paul, and we'd love to get you involved in how we can help dealers.
Did anyone fall off the mechanical bull this time? I mean, I'm sure.
Maybe. I think the video of Ty riding the bull has been permanently deleted. So there's no existence of that, but we had a lot of people get up on the bull, and they had a lot of fun.
Paul, as always, just amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate the go. Hopefully the audience will enjoy it.
Thank you for joining me on this episode of Meet Me at the Gate. I hope the conversation has helped to fuel your drive and equip you with insights to steer your team towards success. Remember, the road to success is always under construction. And until next time, keep your engines revving and your gas tanks full.